Hello, Fun Nation. My name is James, checking in here with team number 9470. Ctrl Alt Defeat. This certified dumper robot is having a breakout season, and there's so much to see here. They won their first 2 district events, were finalists at the Northern California District Championship. They're just an incredible team. These students are awesome. You'll want to learn so much about this robot. Here with me, I have Samuel, Sonny, Milton, Tycho, and Bowen. Let's find out more on Behind the Bumpers. All right, why don't we get started, Samuel? Let's talk about the design and the iterations of this intake here.
Yep. This is actually much different from the intake we started with. Initially, we had a hex shaft with compliant wheels on it, and we ran that through Half Moon Bay. One thing we noticed, the finals one, it bent like 20 degrees, which is why we added a beater bar on top of that. So in preparation for our second competition, we added a beater bar, and for DCMP, we also revised the plates to be more robust. We used an aluminum tube with holes in it, but that also bent really badly. And also our polycarbonate plate started cracking at the end, which is why we've decided to use SRPP, even though it's more expensive, so that we can have a stronger, more robust intake running into Worlds.
So, Sonny, I think you're going to talk a little bit about how the intake leads into your hopper mechanism here. Let's learn a little bit more about that design, too.
We have the hopper right here. It's made out of 1/8 polycarbonate. When the intake comes out, it essentially it pushes the hopper walls out like that. So you see here, there's a lot of contact between the brackets and the intake. We had a lot of issues with that, where like the intake would sometimes get stuck on like the rivets. So we tried flipping the rivets around. So it just took a lot of iteration here, and we just found that this was the most effective solution. We did have issues where sometimes when we took a pretty big collision at the front or just somewhere on this hopper would lift up and then it would go on top of the intake, which meant we couldn't lift this intake, and that was pretty bad. So what we did was we tried lowering this front part of the wall. So you see we have like this riveted plate in the front. We have these brackets that are a bit lower. So overall, it's a lot better now. Sometimes it still rides, but it does recover when we take another collision. So we do have a way to fix it ourselves in the match.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. Kettering University's cutting-edge programs and their experiential co-op model seamlessly blend the professional and academic worlds, offering hands-on, feature-focused learning that empowers students to pursue new ideas and inspires other institutions to follow their lead. Don't just be ahead of the curve, create the curve. Get more information at kettering.edu/first.
Before we move on there, I'd love to talk a little bit about this hopper floor, too. Can you tell me any iterations there? What did that design look like for y'all? I'm first going to talk about this current hopper floor. So it is a set of 8 rollers, and these 4 right here are carbon fiber. In the front here, we have 2 screws that bolt the hopper floor to the intake, so we can just remove these and lift up the hopper floor in case if we need to access the electronics. We also have these 3 flex wheel rollers, and we just found that those are a bit more effective in pushing balls, but due to weight, we can't make all of them live axles, so we just settled for these 3 in the front because they were the most important in essentially funneling balls into the feeder right here. In previous competitions, we had a very similar hopper floor, so this design hasn't changed much. The main difference is that those use polycarbonate rollers, and they didn't have this live axle setup right here.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. FRCT's Managed Store Program is an easy and profitable way to fundraise for your team or off-season event. FRCTs will handle everything from production, packaging, bulk or drop shipping, payment collection, and accounting. Teams can set their own prices, and FRCTs will take care of the rest. Fill out a quote request or get more information when you schedule a callback at frcts.com.
Really cool. Thank you, Sonny. Milton, I'd like to talk a little bit more about your shooter. I know you guys rebuilt to the drum shooter. Let's learn more about that.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about is our feeder mechanism. So in our initial shooter design, we noticed the compression value that we had put for the feeder here was way too high. So we decided to lower that a little bit so balls can more easily move from the hopper to the shooter. And another thing is our initial robot was powered with 1x44, which did not have enough power for the amount of throughput we needed. So for this robot, we decided to make this feeder powered by 2 X60s, one on either side, and both of them have a 12:30 ratio. So we can just get a lot more throughput and we can empty our hopper a lot faster. The next thing I want to talk about is our drum here. This drum is powered by 4 X60s, which we have 2 on either side, and it's on a 16:26 ratio, I believe. And for our flywheel, we have it connected to a pulley on that side, and it's belted, I think, 54-15. And we have a jack shaft going from one side to the other to power the brass flywheel that's on this side for frame perimeter reasons. And another thing I want to talk about is the hood. So for our initial hood, we didn't have this slot here, and we noticed that during we noticed that during DCMP, when we started shooting, the hood would vibrate a lot, like left and right, and that would lead to our shots spreading, and we missed a lot of feel. So for this redesign, we decided to add a slot here, and so that the hood becomes a lot more rigid and it doesn't shake left and right anymore. So our shot spread is a little less. And then in the front here, we have our 2 cameras. These are pointing inside, like kind of cross-eyed, to watch the hub. And I think for programming, Tycho can talk a little bit more about that.
So with programming, our goal every year is to basically make the driver's job as easy as possible. We're trying to basically make the robot, have basically our code is our driver's operator. And so what that means is that we're putting, trying to put as much automation into every single step of the process as possible, so that the driver can focus on doing what they need to do, and getting around defense and basically actually doing the driving, right? Instead of having to think about coordination between all the different subsystems. So our control scheme is pretty simple, and we just have one button to deploy the intake, and then the driver can run around to pick up balls, and then we will, and then one button to shoot. And so for our auto aim, what we do is with these 2 with these 2 photon vision cameras, we're able to have very reliable April tag detection for the hub, and so we're able to align, dead center on it every single time, right? And because we have 2 cross-eyed cameras, we're actually able to get a pretty good field of view without having to have, 4 different code processes running all at the same time. And we're able to focus basically all of our processing effort onto those hub tags, so that there's a lot of redundancy there. Something that we also done for automation with programming is we have this beam break sensor here that basically allows us to do our staging. Allows us to get about 12 balls of extra capacity by feeding balls into the feeder, but not into the shooter, so that we can store extra balls there and basically prepare to shoot. And so one of the struggles that we had is we had to figure out when we had enough balls in the hopper, because if you don't have enough balls in the hopper and you only stage 1 or 2, then that's very inefficient. And so one thing that we did is periodically we will run the hopper and we'll do a current sensing. And if it's over a certain threshold, then we will feed balls into the hopper, and we can reliably detect whether there's 20 or more balls, so that we can intake more and get ready for our shots faster.
Lots of cool programming features that happen there in Tycho. Really cool stuff. One of the things that a lot of people have noticed about your team is your wicked driving skills. And Bowen, as a driver, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your practice routines. How are you achieving such great performance?
Yeah, okay. So I think one of the most important things as a driver that you should know is to know the limits of your robot. Because if you push your robot too far, or if you don't push it enough, you're kind of just finding a middle ground where you're not doing anything particularly well. Like, for example, if your robot specializes in scoring, but you're not as reliable, which is actually what we were probably like in our week 1 and week 2 events, where we had a pretty fragile intake. Me as a driver, I would notice, so I would try to stay on our half a lot more, just try to frequent scoring, and that way we still push our bot by maximizing our output, but we don't force it to constantly break every match, basically. And then I think another thing that I think a lot of teams have been seeing is that we have really reliable stealing. We're pretty much well practiced around everywhere on the field, and that just comes from a lot of practice time. So basically, we chose this season. We did something completely different. We chose week 1 and week 2 events, which is very early season stuff. So it's really difficult to have a lot of practice time before then. So yeah, we maximize our practice time with that by creating a super simple first spot. So originally we were about to overscale. We were about to go full turret, about to go full drum. But I think we kind of went back. We decided week 1, week 2, we wanted to have a simple bot to start with. And then that basically gave me as a driver about like 2 full weeks of just driver practice, where I'm constantly going to the field every day, just getting full matches in back to back. And we even got a couple of scrimmages in, we got defense matches, and we were pretty well prepared for week 1, week 2.
I think that's an understatement considering you walked home with a blue banner from both of them. Ctrl Alt Defeat, incredible driving, incredible robot building. So incredible to learn more about this today. Appreciate your time and best of luck here at the championships. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is James for the Fun Robotics Network, signing off.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos. FRCT's Managed Store program is an easy and profitable way to fundraise for your team or off-season event. FRCTs will handle everything from production, packaging, bulk or drop shipping, payment collection, and accounting. Teams can set their own prices, and FRCTs will take care of the rest. Fill out a quote request or get more information when you schedule a callback at frcts.com.
Kettering University's cutting-edge programs and their experiential co-op model seamlessly blend the professional and academic worlds, offering hands-on, future-focused learning that empowers students to pursue new ideas and inspires other institutions to follow their lead. Don't just be ahead of the curve, create the curve. Get more information at kettering.edu/first.